solitary dirt trail. On others, it's the subway on the number 7 line. I don't know. There's just something interesting when you think about that, his kind of style of wisdom and how we approach the road less traveled. So we probably can't contact him to help us with all of our situations and decision making, but we can use some of Matthew's unconventional wisdom to talk about all kinds of things, like how about food? In his book, he talks about how, as a senior in high school, he was a foreign exchange student and he was in Australia for a year, staying part of the time with this super crazy family. And so he decided, as teenagers come up with random weird things to do, he decided that not only was he going to be vegan for the duration of his stay, but he was only going to eat lettuce with ketchup. And I really wish that he would have explained a little bit more the logic behind this particular eating plan, because as he's talking, all I'm thinking is there is like no nutritional value in that. And for a growing teenage boy, you cannot live on lettuce and ketchup. You're not going to have any energy. But anyway, that's just where my brain was going. And I'm sure everybody else thought that he was probably very crazy. But I'm wondering, have you ever chosen to eat in a certain way just to make a statement? What does the way you eat say about you? You know, for me, I want people to know that health is a priority when I'm making choices with my food. I want that to be obvious. So no sugar, nothing fried, nothing processed, not 100% of the time, but maybe 80% of the time, maybe more. You know, it's a lot easier if you don't eat out, but I want it to be very obvious. When I'm in the grocery store, if you glance into my cart, I expect you to know immediately, oh, all right, she's not very much fun to eat with, but that's okay. That's my gig. So what kind of statement do you make by the way that you eat? So if you're going out to eat, do you choose the restaurant based on your dietary needs, or do you just go with the flow? Are you one of those, I don't care wherever you want to go? No, I don't care wherever you want to go. Don't be that guy. Just make a decision. But, but how important is it to you to make that statement? And when you're ordering, say you're in a restaurant, do you get ranch dressing on your salad just because that's the simple choice? That's what everybody gets and you know they're going to have it and all right, we don't have to think about that. Or do you ask for oil and vinegar or some sort of vinaigrette that doesn't have any sort of sugar in it? Or, you know, do you make specific requests so that the food is prepared the way you want it, you need it, you like it? Or are you the type that just takes whatever is served because you don't want to make a fuss? And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. I just want you to think about the choices you make and why you make them. Who influences the way you eat? Is there someone who has an influence on the choices that you make? You know, a lot of people use other people as an excuse not to eat healthy. I've heard this many, many times. Well, you know, I can't follow a specific eating plan because I have to cook for my spouse and he or she doesn't want to eat that way. Or I have to cook for my family and there's no way my kids would ever eat this healthy stuff. I don't have time. I don't have time to learn new ways of fixing food or even thinking about doing things differently. Maybe you travel with your job. You're on the road, on the rig, on an airplane. I have a couple of friends that are flight attendants, and man, that's tricky when they're trying to cut carbs, for instance. What do? You know, that's a tricky job to pack your own food and bring your lunch if you're in an airplane for days. So there are any number of excuses. Really, when it comes down to it, it's an excuse, because I know people that travel with their job or are out on a rig or are in an airplane, and they still, if it's important to them, they still figure out a way to make healthy choices. So it is definitely possible to do that. I don't buy excuses, you know? This is why I'm not a personal trainer. People have asked me in the past if I would ever want to be a personal trainer. And I've actually done the studying and bought all the books so that I could get the certification. And as I was going through it, I had a lot of friends coming to me wanting me to write meal plans for them, write workout plans for them. And I did a little bit with this is just as a friend. I am not a professional, talk to your doctor, your whatever. Take this with a grain of salt. I'm just winging it here. But so many of them didn't do it. Like, they hounded me and hassled me to help them. And then when I tried to, they totally didn't do it. So yeah, I kind of just got over the desire to do that, like, as a living. That's not fun for me. I don't like people giving me excuses. If you say you're going to do it, just do it. Not that hard. Just do it one step at a time. So anyway, back to the food. When it comes to food, here's another quote from Matthew McConaughey. One man's appetite is another man's indigestion. That's right. And I don't think he was just talking about food here. That applies to a lot of things in our lives. And one of the things that will give you indigestion, or that knot in your stomach, is dealing with life's roadblocks. They're annoying. They're frustrating. I don't like them. You don't like them. Nobody likes when we are, cruising right along and suddenly there's an obstruction in our path and things are not going the way we want them to go. So as we go into our play segment, you will understand that playing is probably the last thing on your mind when life is throwing you curveballs, right? You're dealing with stressful decisions that have to be made and choices. And why would you play? Who's got time for that right now? We have serious business, serious adulting that needs to happen right now. But actually, sometimes playing is exactly what you need in those difficult situations, because you've got to find a way to clear your head, right? So how do you do that? How do you play your way into a better mind space? Well, exercise and self-care are the best ways to do that, to get your head in a good place, to feel peaceful and balanced as you make the hard choices. So the key is to deactivate the fight or flight response that comes up when you're faced with stressors by resetting your nervous system. So studies show that exercise, of course, is very effective at reducing fatigue, improving alertness and concentration, enhancing overall cognitive function. This can be helpful when stress has depleted your energy or your ability to concentrate. When stress affects the brain, with its many nerve connections, the rest of the body feels that impact as well. If your body feels better, so does your mind. Exercise and other physical activity produce the endorphins, those chemicals in your brain that act as a natural painkiller, and it also improves your ability to sleep, which, of course, reduces your stress. So get out there and play. Exercise, whatever way works for you. For me, I mentioned I'm dealing with some tough decisions this week and some pretty stressful things for this mama. And so I went and ran today. And it's actually funny because I'm pretty sure that I mentioned that I've been doing this marathon training, but this week I have not wanted to run at all. Not in the mood. Don't want to do it. I don't know why. I've been running for months and months and months, and I'm actually running shorter distances. So it should be fine. The temperature's cool. It's lovely weather for running. I don't want to. So I've been lifting weights more instead, which has actually been fun. I decided to give myself a break and not worry about, oh, but I have to follow this plan because I decided to follow this plan. It's okay to give yourself a break and do what your body is craving as far as exercise goes. So I've done the weightlifting, but then today, with all the stress that I had going on in my head, I decided I needed to hit the pavement, and I started running, and I ran faster than I normally do. Of course, it was also cool, really cool. And so I was running faster just to warm up probably, but it really helped. It really helped. By the time I got home, my stress level was lower. My energy was higher. I was ready to come in here and do this show and share this with you that I'm putting this into practice. I don't just sit here and talk about things that I've looked up to tell you about. I put all of this into practice, and I've seen huge changes in my life. I've shared with you a lot of my weight loss transformation, but the transformation in my head has been night and day. Night and day. I used to be so afraid to be myself and get out there and put myself out there and just take it or leave it. This is who I am. And that has changed so much. And it's changed through being healthy in mind, body, and spirit. I'm not perfect, and I do a lot of things that are a hot mess, but it's about progress, not perfection. So I share this with you because I just want to encourage you that no matter where you're at in your life, no matter your age, your weight, your shoe size, your hair color, whatever, you can get healthier, happier, and more balanced. So let's jump back into playing here and how playing can help us with those tough decisions. Besides exercise, there are other ways to play in life. I know, I understand. But how about singing out loud? Whether you're exercising or not, there is something about just belting it out that's going to make you feel better. That is going to bring your stress level down. And if you can't sing, probably all the better, because then you end up just laughing at yourself. There are other self-care things that can make you feel playful, like smell something you love. It's a weird thought, right? I have some essential oils that I use. I actually have one that I put on the palm of my hand today that is for mood, uplifting your mood. And so I just, probably looks really strange, but I smell the palm of my hand every once in a while when I need that little uplift. But maybe it's a candle or a marshmallow, whatever smell. It's amazing how our senses have this effect on our overall well-being. So try smelling something that you love. Practice a random act of kindness. It works. It makes you feel better. Skip. I'm not kidding. You will look so silly. In fact, I totally got busted a couple of weeks ago skipping down the road. I was out for my run and a really good song came on and I just couldn't help myself. I started skipping and one of my neighbors caught me and yeah, I was busted. So, but I don't care because you know what? Then not only was I smiling, but so was she. So you know what? It was a win-win. Find something that you pass by every day, and this time, stop and closely inspect it. Notice something that you've never seen before. Isn't that a weird thought? But it can help with mindfulness and really being in the moment, which is so important to feeling centered and having that balance. So just investigate it. Maybe it's a plant or, I don't know, somebody's rock garden, a statue, Whatever, some random thing that you pass every day, just investigate it, check it out a lot more closely. And doing these kinds of mindful activities can help when you're feeling stressed or navigating that difficult situation. They can also be incorporated into your everyday, because we have stress every day. The thing about being grown-ups, I say that like it's a bad word because sometimes it is. There's always something to navigate, right? There's always something. It's like, why? Why is there always something? A leaky pipe, a late bill, something you missed, you forgot to pay. One of your kids is in a jam. You have a boss with a really bad temper, whatever it is, there's always something. So get in the habit of making these practices that help reset you and make you feel better and bring you joy and balance and take that stress level down. Put those into practice every day, because every day we make hundreds of decisions, big or small, and we have the choice to persist, to pivot, or to concede. Those words are from my friend Matthew McConaughey. I'm telling you, this book, Green Lights, if you didn't hear the beginning of my show, is an audiobook that I'm listening to right now, and it's Matthew McConaughey's book, and he reads it, which is super cool. But I mean, I'm driving down the road trying to take notes as he's talking, because he's just saying, he's dropping all these little gems that I'm like, oh, I love that. I want to remember that. That is the one problem with audiobooks. I find I hear really cool things, but I don't retain them as well as when I'm actually reading, and I can't mark them, especially since I'm usually in my Jeep, driving down the road when I'm listening. And yeah, it's probably not real safe to be taking notes, but we do what we do. I know you eat while you drive. We all do that. So don't judge me for writing. But do know that you are not the only one facing difficulties. You're not alone. You know what? Some people may judge the way you deal with situations. And like I was saying earlier, if you're one of those where you shop around for a lot of people's opinions, well, you're not going to be able to take all of their advice, because their advice can be completely opposing each other. And so once you decide which way you're going to go, somebody's not going to agree with you, and they might even talk some smack about you. It is what it is. Ultimately, your happiness and your balance is in your hands, not theirs. You got to choose who you're listening to. If you're not sure if this is true, post a question on Facebook to get people's opinions. You will see very quickly that they're all over the place. So, oh my gosh, I follow a group called Wild Woman Sisterhood on Facebook, and it's a pretty entertaining group, but these women ask a variety of questions, whether it's health or relationship advice especially. And wow, some of the advice that's out there is very interesting. So, oh my goodness. So I want to give you a couple more of Matthew McConaughey's quotes before we end the show today, just to think about, or maybe write them down. If you're driving down the road and you've got a pen handy, go ahead and jot these down. The best advice comes from people who don't give advice. Life is a series of commas, not periods. That's really relates to the title of his book, Green Light. Every so often when he's talking about something that really went well in his life, he'll go, green light. I love that. What a cool way to describe it. You know, you got the go ahead. Every hero doesn't do this great big hero thing. They do the simple thing over and over, and they stick to it. Yeah. I dig his advice. Doing it over and over. Let's do that. Let's just decide what we want to do and do it. Let's meet here next week. Speaking of doing things over and over, Same time, same place. Lone Star 102.5 FM if you're listening on the radio, or Facebook Live at eatplaylive.andy. That's right. That's where you find me. And until next week, I am Andi P, and I so appreciate you joining me. Thank you for being part of my tribe, being brave with me, and just being yourself, joining in. So until next week, I will find some music for you, and I'll see you here.